Hi, my name is Akistina binti Aslaniza. My student ID is 2025138101.
My name is Farzana Izzati Wirai binti Muhammad Fauzi. Student ID 2025118613.
My name is Irdina Nabila binti Amirul Hafiz. My student ID is 2025139945.
My name is Nur Alia Damia binti Muhammad Syafuddin. My student ID is 2025129313.
My name is Nur Kasih Alisa binti Nur Mukminin. My student ID is 2025300985.
My name is Muhammad Azahirul Mukris Yusri. Student ID 2023410716.
In this session, I will explain the role of Security Commission Malaysia and Bank Negara Malaysia in supporting Malaysia leadership in ESG or SRI Sukuk and Green Sukuk. First, the Security Commission Malaysia regulate the development in Islamic capital market. This major contribution was introducing the Sri Sukuk framework in 2014, which has become the world's first framework for sustainable Islamic financing. The SC also set ESG disclosure and governance standards to ensure transparency and to support the growth of ESG SRI Sukuk. Meanwhile, Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) focus on maintaining financial stability and promoting sustainable finance through initiatives such as value-based intimidation and climate change and principle-based taxonomy. BNM encourage financial institutions to incorporate sustainability into their financing decision. Together, both institutions have contributed significantly to market growth. The SC facilitated the world's first green sukuk in 2017, while BNM strengthened investor confidence through sound financial regulation. As a result, the SC has positioned Malaysia as a pioneer in sustainable Islamic capital markets through regulatory innovation and global recognition, while BNM has enhanced the resilience and credibility of Malaysia's Islamic financial ecosystem, supporting long-term ESG or SRI Sukuk growth. In conclusion, the collaboration between SC and BNM has been a key factor behind Malaysia's leadership in ESG SRI Sukuk, while the SC drive market innovation through regulatory framework. BNM strengthen financial stability and sustainable financing practice. However, Malaysia must continue enhancing its ESG standards and innovation to remain competitive against emerging sukuk markets such as Indonesia and GCC countries. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next, I will be presenting the Tada Energy Green Sukuk, which was issued in 2017 with a value of 250 million. Starting with SRI, the funds were used to finance solar energy project. So this makes the Sukuk good example of sustainable and responsible investment because it creates positive environmental outcomes while still generating returns for investors. So it reflects the SRI objective of balancing profit with sustainability. Moving on to the ESG, the stronger elements are environmentals and governance. So from the environmental perspective, the Sukuk supports renewable energy through solar power project, helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and dependence on fossil fuels. So this contributes to a long-term environmental sustainability. For governance, Tada Energy established a green finance working group and implemented a structured process to monitor fund allocation. So this ensures transparency, accountability, and investor confidence. And for the social contributions is more indirect, mainly through job creations and the long-term benefit of clean energy, and therefore environmental and governance remains the dominant ESG elements. So this Sukuk also supports several SDGs, including SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 13, climate actions, and lastly SDG 15, life of lands. However, there are some limitations, so the Sukuk requires a continuous ESG monitoring and reporting to ensure compliance with green finance requirement, which can increase administrative and compliance costs. So in addition, there was no commitment to post-issue external review, which may reduce transparency and make it more difficult for investors to independently verify the environmental impact of the project. In conclusion, the Tada Energy Green Sukuk is a strong example of sustainable Islamic finance because it successfully integrates SRI, ESG and SDG principles while supporting renewable energy development.
Thank you, Kasih, for an excellent explanation on the notable Malaysian ESG or SRI Sukuk or green issuance. Hi, my name is Akistina. Next, I will discuss two key factors that contributed to Malaysia's success in the Sukuk market, particularly in SRI and green Sukuk development. The first factor is having a strong government support and regulatory leadership. The Malaysian government played an active role in developing the Sukuk market through the Securities Commission Malaysia. In 2014, the Securities Commission introduced the SRI Sukuk framework, which was the world's first framework dedicated to SRI Sukuk. This framework provided clear guidelines on eligible projects, disclosure requirements, and reporting standards. In addition, the government offered tax incentives and grants to reduce issuance costs and cover the expenses of external reviews. Regulators also organized workshops and training programs and collaborated with BNM, Bank Negara Malaysia, and other agencies to encourage companies to issue Sukuk. So how can this contribute to Malaysia's success? It helps to reduce barriers for issuers, increase investors' confidence, and strengthens Malaysia's position as a leader in Islamic sustainable finance. The second factor is Malaysia's established Islamic finance ecosystem and expertise. Malaysia had already developed a strong Islamic finance industry long before the introduction of SRI and Green Sukuk. Since the establishment of its first Islamic bank in 1983, the country has built a comprehensive Islamic capital market supported by experienced Sharia scholars, lawyers, bankers, regulators, and researchers. The government also invested in education and research institutions to develop talent and expertise. This combination of Sharia principles and conventional legal expertise enabled Malaysia to create innovative and internationally accepted Sukuk structures. So how this contributed to Malaysia's success? So existing expertise helps reduce the learning curve for innovation. Availability of skilled professionals ensure efficient Sukuk issuance, and strong institutional support enhance credibility. And as a result, Malaysia was able to be a pioneer product such as Green Sukuk and maintain its reputation as a global leader in Islamic finance. That's all from me.
Next factor is strong institutional investor participation, which also play an important role. Malaysia has a well-established network of institutional investors, including Islamic bank, takaful operator, pension fund, and asset management companies. These institutions actively invest in ESG and SRI Sukuk because they align with both sustainability objectives and Sharia principles. Their strong domestic demand encourage more issuers to enter the market and increase confidence among international investors. As a result, Malaysia's sustainable Sukuk market become more liquid, resilient, and credible. Lastly, Malaysia strengthened its leadership through strategic alignment with macro policy initiatives, particularly the National Energy Transition Roadmap or NETR, which introduced in 2023. NETR aligned with sustainable finance with the country's long-term energy transition goals. It provides an estimated investment pipeline of 1.2 to 1.3 trillion ringgit Malaysia by 2050 in sectors such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, green mobility, and carbon reduction. This creates a continuous supply of bankable green projects that can be financed through Green Sukuk, while government backing increases investor confidence and attract both local and foreign institutional investors. In conclusion, strong institutional participation and the alignment of sustainable finance with the national policy have reinforced Malaysia's position as a global leader in ESG or SRI Sukuk and Green Sukuk development.
Next, I will discuss one of the key challenges in sustaining Malaysia's global leadership in ESG and SRI Sukuk, which is rising competition from GCC countries and Indonesia. Although Malaysia remains the world's largest Sukuk market, accounting for approximately 36% of global Sukuk outstanding, other Islamic finance hubs are rapidly expanding their sustainable finance sectors. For example, in 2024, RRG Bank of Saudi Arabia successfully issued a $1 billion sustainable Sukuk, attracting demand of more than $2.8 billion. In addition, Saudi Arabia issued over $72.5 billion worth of Sukuk in 2025 and is supported by the Public Investment Fund, which managed assets exceeding $700 million. These developments highlight the growing influence of GCC countries in the sustainable Sukuk market. Meanwhile, Indonesia is also strengthening its position through sovereign green Sukuk programs. In 2025, Indonesia issued a $2.2 billion sovereign Sukuk, including a $1.1 billion green Sukuk, while its sustainable bond market reached $17.5 billion outstanding. These developments show that Malaysia can no longer rely solely on its first-mover advantage. To maintain its global leadership position, Malaysia must continue innovating in ESG and SRI Sukuk products, strengthen its regulatory framework, improve ESG reporting and transparency, and enhance international collaboration. Now, I will explain the second challenge in sustaining Malaysia's global leadership in ESG or SRI Sukuk, which is preventing greenwashing. As Malaysia continues to expand its ESG and SRI Sukuk market, effective monitoring and maintaining transparency become increasingly challenging. Greenwashing refers to situations where sustainability claims are overrated or not fully supported by actual environmental or social impact. This can reduce investor confidence, weaken market credibility, and ultimately threaten Malaysia's position. The first case study referred to Green Sukuk governance in Malaysia. Although Malaysia's Green Sukuk framework is aligned with internationally recognized standards such as GBP, the study suggests that disclosure and verification challenges may still exist. This shows that compliance with standards alone are not enough to completely eliminate greenwashing risks. Meanwhile, the second case study shows that Malaysia has a relatively low greenwashing index compared to several MENA and Asian countries. However, maintaining this position requires strong governance and continuous monitoring to preserve investor trust. Preventing greenwashing is becoming more important as the market grows. The green and sustainability Sukuk issuance reached $11 billion by the third quarter of 2024, and 55% of investors plan to invest in green and sustainability Sukuk within the next 3 years. As the investor participation increases, the expectation for transparency and accountability also become higher. Therefore, to sustain its global leadership, Malaysia must strengthen its ESG disclosure requirement, independent verification processes, and impact reporting standards to ensure the credibility and long-term growth of its ESG or SRI Sukuk market. That's all from us. Thank you for your time and attention.